The chamber reeks of spiced wine and perfumed oil. In the flickering glow of oil lamps, a figure moves through the shadows. Draped in a bridal veil, rouged lips parted in laughter that echoes off marble walls. But this is no bride. This is Nero, Caesar Augustus, Emperor of Rome, most powerful man in the known world. And tonight, he is the wife. The crowd watches in frozen silence. Senators, aristocrats, men who once commanded legions, now stand witness to something unspeakable. A young freedman named Pythagoras, a slave elevated to husband, steps forward. The ceremony proceeds. Vows are exchanged. The emperor giggles, high-pitched and manic, as Rome's elite avert their eyes. But they dare not leave, because to refuse the emperor's invitation is to invite death. To laugh at the wrong moment is execution. To remain silent is complicity in madness. This is not a wedding. This is a proclamation. Nero has crossed a line no Roman ruler has ever dared approach. And this night, this perverse, grotesque theater is only the beginning of a spiral into depravity that will stain the annals of history with blood, fire, and unimaginable cruelty. What drives a man who holds absolute power to humiliate himself publicly? What hunger gnaws at a soul so corrupted that even the sacred is desecrated? And how far will Rome allow its emperor to fall before the empire itself begins to burn? Rome, 54 AD. The Palatine Hill rises above the city like a crown of marble and gold. Within its walls, the imperial palace sprawls, a labyrinth of columned halls, sunlit courtyards, and hidden chambers where the fate of millions is decided by whispers and daggers. Here, a 16-year-old boy becomes emperor. Nero Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus ascends to the throne not through valor or wisdom, but through the machinations of his mother, Agrippina the Younger, a woman whose ambition is as lethal as any poison brewed in Rome's darkest alleys. She has murdered her husband, Emperor Claudius, slipping deadly mushrooms into his favorite dish. She has eliminated rivals, silenced dissent, and placed her son upon the throne with beauty. The next, his eyes darken, his jaw tightens, and someone is dragged away by Praetorian guards, never to return. Agrippina watches from the shadows, her painted face a mask of controlled fury. She has created this emperor, and now he defies her. He makes decisions without consultation. He surrounds himself with freedmen and actors, people she considers beneath contempt. He takes a mistress, Poppaea Sabina, a woman of devastating beauty and corrosive ambition, who whispers poison into his ear at night. "Your mother holds too much power," Poppaea murmurs, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest. Rome sees her as the true ruler. They mock you as her puppet. The seed is planted. Nero begins to exclude his mother from councils. He removes her guards. He forces her from the palace into a villa across the city. Agrippina rages, threatens, reminds him that she made him emperor and can unmake him just as easily. It is the last mistake she will ever make. In 59 AD, Agrippina is invited to a banquet. The evening is pleasant, filled with wine and laughter. Nero embraces his mother, kisses her cheek, whispers endearments. She boards a boat to return home, reassured that her son has remembered his loyalty. The boat splits apart in the middle of the bay. Agrippina survives the accident, swimming to shore through dark waters. But Nero's patience is exhausted. Assassins break into her villa before dawn. She pulls aside her robes, exposing her womb. "Strike here," she commands. "Strike the belly that bore such a monster." They do. And with her blood still warm on marble floors, Nero crosses a threshold from which there is no return. He has murdered the woman who gave him life, who placed ultimate power in his hands. The Senate, terrified, offers congratulations. The people celebrate his survival of his mother's plot. But in the palace, slaves whisper. Nero no longer sleeps through the night. He wanders halls alone, muttering to himself, seeing shapes in shadows. Guilt and megalomania wage war in his mind, and megalomania is winning. The emperor begins to seek distractions: theater, music, chariot racing, and pleasures that Rome has never before witnessed from its ruler. The transformation begins slowly. Nero's concerts. Women fake childbirth to escape the endless recitals. But the performances are merely symptoms of a deeper sickness spreading through the palace. Behind closed doors, away from even the most loyal advisors, Nero begins to explore appetites that Rome's ancient laws have forbidden since the city's founding. The Domus Transitoria, the emperor's private residence, becomes a theater of the grotesque. Slaves report rooms draped in crimson silk, floors slick with spilled wine and oils. They speak in hushed voices of banquets that last for days, where senators are forced to participate in acts so degrading that some choose suicide rather than face another imperial invitation. Nero creates something he calls convivium, a feast, but not of food alone. Young men and women, selected for beauty and youth, are brought to these gatherings. Some are slaves, others are free-born Romans of aristocratic families, chosen specifically to humiliate their parents. They are stripped, oiled, painted. They are arranged into living sculptures, forced to hold positions for hours while Nero and his guests recline and observe. But even this is not enough. Witnesses describe a game Nero invents. He has himself sewn into the hide of a wild animal, then released from a cage to attack men and women tied to stakes. He tears at their clothing with his teeth, growling and snarling, while the victims scream. It is not rape in the traditional sense. It is something more primal, more animalistic, a complete abandonment of humanity. Freedmen who survive these nights emerge hollow-eyed, unable to speak of what they endured. Then comes the marriage to Pythagoras. The freedman is young, dark-haired, with the build of an athlete. Nero becomes obsessed with him, showering him with gifts, estates, titles. But obsession is not enough. Nero demands something Rome has never seen: a public wedding, in which he, the emperor, will play the role of bride. The ceremony is arranged at the imperial gardens. Priests are coerced into participation. Vows are written. A dowry is prepared. Nero appears in a flame-colored bridal veil, traditionally worn by Roman brides, his face painted, his body adorned with jewelry. Husband. The bride is a young boy named Sporus, chosen for his delicate features and resemblance to Poppaea Sabina, Nero's wife, whom he has recently murdered by kicking her to death while she was pregnant. Nero has Sporus castrated. The boy is dressed in imperial regalia, adorned with jewels and makeup, and paraded as empress. Nero kisses him publicly, calls him by his dead wife's name, and forces the Senate to honor Sporus as Augusta. He takes the boy on state visits, sleeps with him openly, and when critics whisper that Rome is ruled by a madman, those critics are found floating in the Tiber with their tongues cut out. The Roman historian Cassius Dio writes that men prayed Nero's father had married such a wife instead of producing such a son. But the perversity extends beyond Nero's personal chambers. He demands participation. Senators are forced to watch. Some are commanded to join. Those who refuse are accused of conspiracy and executed, their estates seized, their families destroyed. The palace becomes a place where morality dies. Slaves are beaten for looking away. Freedmen are rewarded for silence. And through it all, Nero laughs. That high-pitched, manic giggle that echoes through marble halls like the sound of civilization collapsing. Because power, absolute and unchecked, has revealed something terrifying about human nature. That when all boundaries are removed, when every desire can be indulged without consequence, the soul does not ascend to enlightenment. It descends into hell, and Nero is only beginning his descent. July 18th, 64 AD. The night air is thick and still. Rome sleeps fitfully in the summer heat, its million inhabitants packed into wooden insulae, apartment buildings stacked 5, 6 stories high. Their timbers dry as kindling after months without rain. Then, near the Circus Maximus, a flame appears. It begins in a shop selling oil and cloth. Within minutes, the fire spreads. Wood ignites. Thatch roofs explode into cascades of embers. The wind picks up, hot, relentless, carrying burning fragments across streets, over walls, into neighboring districts. By dawn, half the city is ablaze. People run screaming through smoke-choked streets, clutching children and worthless possessions. The elder gazes upon the burning city and begins to sing. He performs the sack of Troy, accompanying himself on the lyre. His voice carries over the roar of flames as Rome dies before his eyes. Some historians claim this account is exaggerated, enemy propaganda meant to demonize a hated ruler. But others record that senators saw him, that citizens heard him, that Nero watched his capital burn and found in its destruction a terrible, intoxicating beauty. When the fire finally exhausts itself, 2/3 of Rome is ash. Hundreds of thousands are homeless. The death toll is uncountable. Bodies are piled in the streets, burned beyond recognition. The stench of charred flesh hangs over the city for weeks. Nero acts swiftly, but not with relief efforts. He seizes vast stretches of the destroyed city and announces plans for the Domus Aurea, the Golden House. It will be his new palace, a sprawling complex covering over 300 acres of prime Roman real estate. It will have a lake, parklands, a colossal bronze statue of himself standing 120 feet tall. It will be the most magnificent structure ever conceived. The people of Rome, living in ruins, watch in stunned disbelief as architects and engineers swarm the ashes to begin construction on the emperor's monument to himself. Rage builds. Whispers spread through what remains of the city. Did Nero start the fire? Was this deliberate, a way to clear land for his architectural fantasies? The rumors gain momentum. Citizens gather in burned-out forums, their voices rising from murmur to shout. Nero needs a scapegoat. He finds one in Rome's Christian community, a small, strange sect that worships a Jewish preacher executed in Judea decades earlier. They are outsiders. They refuse to honor Roman gods. They speak of the world ending in fire. Perfect. Nero orders mass arrests. Christians are rounded up by the hundreds. Men, women, children. They are accused of arson, of sedition, of hatred of humanity itself. And the punishments Nero devises are not merely executions. They are entertainment. In his private gardens, Christians are crucified in rows. Others are sewn into animal skins and torn apart by dogs. Still others are covered in pitch and set aflame. Secret. Generals whisper in military camps. Aristocratic families, their fortunes seized and their dignity destroyed, start planning. The conspiracy is vast. Senators, praetorian officers, poets, philosophers. They call it the Pisonian conspiracy, named after Senator Gaius Calpurnius Piso, a man respected enough to replace Nero. But conspiracies are fragile things. A freedman talks. A slave overhears something. A letter is intercepted. Within days, Nero knows everything. The purge is swift and merciless. Piso is ordered to commit suicide. He opens his veins in a warm bath, reciting poetry as he dies. Seneca, Nero's old tutor, is also implicated, probably falsely. He, too, is ordered to die. The old philosopher cuts his wrists, but his aged body bleeds too slowly. He drinks hemlock. Still, he lives. Finally, he is placed in a hot bath, where steam and heat finish what the blade could not. Dozens more follow. Lucan the poet, Petronius the novelist, military commanders, senators' wives, anyone even tangentially connected to the conspiracy is destroyed. But the executions do not restore Nero's power. The empire is fracturing. Governors in distant provinces refuse orders. Legions grow restless. In Judea, a full-scale rebellion erupts. In Gaul, a general named Vindex raises an army and declares Nero unfit to rule. Nero, isolated in his golden house, surrounded by sycophants and slaves, loses his grip on reality. He holds concerts while provinces burn. He plans theatrical tours while legions march against him. He takes Sporus to bed and weeps about critics who fail to appreciate his artistic genius. Then, in June of 68 AD, the Praetorian Guard abandons him. The Senate declares Nero a public enemy. Galba, governor of Hispania, is proclaimed emperor. Nero's servants begin to flee. His advisors vanish. Even Sporus disappears into the night. Alone, terrified, Nero considers his options. He thinks of fleeing to Egypt. He imagines begging the people for mercy. He contemplates throwing himself on the Senate's clemency. But he knows the truth. There is no mercy for him. Not after everything. Not after the murders, the fires, the perversions. Rome wants him dead, and Rome will have its wish. Nero flees the city with 4 remaining, hastily, without ceremony, in the family tomb of the Domitii on the Pincian Hill. No state funeral, no mourning period, no statues erected in his honor. Rome wanted to forget, but history does not permit forgetting. The question remains, echoing through 2,000 years, what transforms a human being into a monster? Was Nero born corrupted, his soul twisted from birth? Or did absolute power, unlimited, unchecked, worshipped, slowly erode every boundary between desire and depravity until nothing remained but appetite? The historians who recorded his crimes were his enemies. Perhaps they exaggerated. Perhaps the truth is less grotesque than the legend. But the burned ruins of Rome were real. The mass graves were real. The silence of those who survived, too traumatized to speak of what they witnessed in marble halls, that silence was real. Nero's legacy is not merely one of cruelty or madness. It is a testament to what happens when power meets moral vacancy, when every impulse can be satisfied, when human beings become instruments of pleasure rather than bearers of dignity. For decades after his death, rumors persisted that Nero still lived, hiding in distant provinces, preparing to return. 3 different impostors claimed to be him, gathering followers who longed for the spectacle and horror of his reign. Perhaps that is the most disturbing truth of all, that some part of humanity, even after witnessing such darkness, still craved it, still wanted the emperor who made them complicit in atrocity, still needed the monster who proved that civilization is only ever one broken soul away from collapse.